Courtney coming at you from 1 Timothy 4:12, girl, and this week I wanted to talk to you guys about guarding your heart. How to guard your heart as a Christian, like when you're interested in someone, and how to approach the whole dating relationship thing from God's perspective. So I wanted to kind of just talk real candidly about this, from one single girl to another, or from one single girl to, if there's any guys out there watching this, like, how to do this as Christians, how to navigate this. And so I wanted to start off with a Bible verse, and I'm going to read out of the Passion Translation. It's super lit. If you've never read it, I highly recommend you check it out because it's awesome. And so I'm going to be reading Proverbs 4:23. And it says, "So above all, guard the affections of your heart, for they affect all that you are. Pay attention to the welfare of your innermost being, for from there flows the wellspring of life." So this is probably a verse that some of you are familiar with. Maybe you heard it at youth group or a devotional or like a teen Bible study. It's definitely a verse that I've heard a lot throughout the course of my life. And basically, it just means like guard your heart. It means to approach relationships from God's perspective. It doesn't mean don't catch feelings, because it's probably going to happen, but it means be careful, how you process those feelings, how you choose to approach this thing on a heart level, how you choose to process this with your thoughts, and to just kind of approach the whole dating thing how you believe that Jesus would have you approach it. And so I'm going to be talking about kind of what that looks like practically and how to be faithful in a season of singleness where you're, trusting God with the whole relationship thing. And so I wanted to read another verse too. It's out of Song of Solomon, and it's Songs of Solomon 8:4. It says, "Daughters of Jerusalem, I charge you, do not arouse or awaken love until it so desires." And so both these verses are kind of saying the same thing. It's saying guard your heart, trust God's timing, be faithful in the waiting, make purity a priority. And so I kind of just wrote down some notes of how practically we could do that as Christians. The first thing that I wanted to touch on is prayer. My church has this thing called Pray First. It's one of their core values. And so it basically just means, like, pray about anything that's going on with you. Approach God as a friend. Approach God as a parent. Like, someone you're really close to, how you talk to them. Just talk to God that same way. Talk to them about anyone you're interested in, Pray for that person instead of, letting, your thoughts go crazy or, just scrolling through social media to an unhealthy degree, which we've probably all done. Just pray about that person and pray for that person. Pray for God's will over their life. Pray that that person would stay pure and follow God. Pray that they would grow in their faith, Just kind of give it to God and pray for this person and trust God from there. Another thing you could do is pray for your future spouse. That might be the same person, it may not be, but that's another thing that you can do as you're kind of going through this season, is just pray for whoever it is that God's will is that you end up with. If his plan is for you to be married, he already has that person in mind, and just pray for them, Pray the same kind of things that I mentioned before. Pray that they grow in their faith. Pray over God's will for their life. These are all things that we can do in a season of singleness. Another thing is keep your standards high. I was talking to a good friend about all this recently, about guys and dating and just the whole thing, and she sent me a podcast that she found out was really interesting, and it used the analogy of a furniture store. You can go in there and you can get any piece of furniture, but if you want something custom made and something with quality, then it may take longer. You may have to wait a while. But that's okay because God's already preparing something ahead of time. And it's better to wait and, end up with someone who's everything that God has for you than to settle for just what works right now. And so that's something I really want to advise you on, is keeping your standards high. I feel like that's something that, a lot of people tend to just be like, but I want a boyfriend now, or, if you're a dude, I want a girlfriend now, and people just kind of, go out with people and just not really with any intentionality, just hey, like, why not? But if this is someone that, if you're dating with the intention of marriage, then you should be approaching it with, is this someone that I could see myself spending my life with, If all goes well, is this someone I could see myself raising kids with? Is someone who I respect? Do they have the qualities you're looking for? Are they strong in their faith? Are they kind to people? Do they have good character? These are all important things to be looking for in a significant other. And another thing here is just growing your faith. I think sometimes people get so caught up in the relationship thing that it's like you're looking for the ideal person, but at the same time, you need to be working on becoming the right person too, growing yourself in your faith, growing yourself in your character, and just becoming the person that God is molding you to be. So that's something that you can work on right now, is just, like, get plugged in with your church and just follow God's leading. There's so much that God has for you in the season right now that's important, that we never get so future-oriented or so future-minded that we forget that God has missions for us right here to be a light, to change the world for Christ, to make a difference, to impact our communities. Like, we have a mission right here, and we can't lose track of that. Kind of going off that, use this time to serve God's kingdom. What can you do right now? Like, how can you step up in leadership, like at church, or how can you be a light at your work or your school? How can you make a difference and spread the gospel? And these are all things that we can focus on in our season of singleness. Right now we have so much more time, and I guess so many opportunities before us to just be a light. And so as Christians, we can take advantage of that right now, of being a light and following God and serving God to the best of our abilities. And so I just want to challenge you to kind of think about these points throughout your week and just really focus on following God. There are so many things in this life that it can be easy to get distracted by, whether it's a career or your degree or the whole relationship thing, which is what I'm talking about here. But ultimately, as Christians, our purpose is to know God and make God known. So I hope that this video inspired and encouraged and challenged you, and I hope that God spoke to you through it, and I hope all of you have an awesome week.